Hey, what's going on YouTube? This is Broman Clash, and yes, I'm back in action. I was working, during the summer, so honestly, I didn't really have much time to do YouTube, but I'm back in action. So let me talk about a topic that has been on my mind for quite some time. Ever since I was young, everybody go through with it. But in case of those who really don't know much of their origin or their traditions, then this topic will still apply to you because you're still a part of this human organization or this human organism that we call what? A family. Yes, a family is a bit of a funny yet complex, and it's a beautiful thing because it's funny because at the same time people really don't know who their family is or who their family is not, because not only because of attitude but also because of genetics and also because of all this other crap such as tie-ins, traditions. I'm not trying to say that traditions and tie-ins are actually crap, but you catch my drift, because even then, even with family, it's pretty funny because family is pretty important, yet we seem to forget about that. And some of you may say, but why is family very important? My family don't give a shit about me, so why should I care about family in the first place if they don't care about me? Now, let me put it like this. Family is not tied in by the blood that you have. It's not tied in by your appearance. See, sometimes you may say, hey, look, that's my cousin, that's my father, that's my brother. And if they don't really give a shit about you, in fact, they talk down upon you, all because they don't really love you, then honestly, that's not your family. Because, I know that sounds a bit harsh and that sounds a bit out there, but really think about it. Because if that was really your family, then guess what? They would support you. They would look at you and just be like, look, man, I know we don't see eye to eye. I know we have our spats. We all have our disagreements. We have everything that's wrong with us. But when it comes right down to it, we have to love each other. Regardless if everybody's against you, man, you still have my support. You still got one brother that still loves you. Or if you're a woman, you still got that one sister that loves you. And you want to know what the real sad part is? Is the fact that without a family structure, how can there be discipline? Now, some of you may say that, wait a minute, but how does family tie in, with structure, discipline, and, overall a sense of identity? And that's the thing. Family creates a bit of an identity, not only for the person, but say if you didn't grow up with, like, not knowing your blood relatives. Say if you grew up not knowing who your mother or who your father is, but yet you grew up with people that were very close to you, who grew up and raised you as like a son or a daughter, and they treated you well. Not treated you like you're just some sort of commodity so they could get a check. No, they treated you with respect. They say, hey, look, they taught you discipline. They taught you how to act, not how to act, but how to be. See, there's a difference between an act and being. See, when you act, you're just trying to put on a facade so society can like you. But if you're being, guess what? You are yourself, and society will not understand you at first. But those in society who understand you and respect you will honestly say, you know what, man? That's a cool brother. That's a cool sister right there, man. Leave them alone because they're doing right. And when the time comes, somebody needs to be put in check. And that's where authority comes in. I hate authority because authority thinks that, how the way cops with badges think, majority of cops with badges think they are above the law. Fuck that. We don't need authority. What we need is an equal understanding of each other. Now, I understand that they say, respect your elders. That's true. You need to respect your elders because they went through a lot of things that your parents, especially you, haven't been through. You and I, as in like, we're this generation of young adults, and our parents don't even know what the fuck their parents went through. And I know cursing is unprofessional, all that other crap. But I'm just gonna keep it real with you, just like Rick James. I'm gonna keep it real like his song. But anyways, when the elders are not treated with respect and they are not being listened to, then you realize, then when you look at your elders and you realize where the hell the screw ups came from, and then you realize, oh man, really, man? So our parents were following these screw ups right here, and then our parents are not screw ups, and they expect us to be better than them. See, look, it goes into the old saying goes. You are a reflection of what your parents are supposed to be. And if your parents, let's just put it like this, if your parents are like teenagers in grown-up bodies, basically basically what I'm trying to say is this. If your parents are just nothing more than just teenagers in mind, guess what? It goes like this quote that was said by Muhammad Ali. If you are a 30-year-old man with the mind of a 15-year-old, you wasted 15 years of your life. That's what applies to parenthood. When it comes right down to parenthood, you have to remember, if if you have the mind of a teenager, how the hell can you teach teenagers to be adults? You can't do that. See, that's where family and discipline comes in. Because without discipline, how can the next generation prepare themselves for reality, for just, for themselves to be defensive, especially against corruption? You expect them to just be like, oh yes, this generation, they'll get things quickly. Yeah, this generation, don't worry, they'll be fine. And it's just like, wait a minute, hold up, 1 minute. If you expect the generation to be all of this, if you expect, this generation to do every single thing like they are the fucking Jackson 5, no disrespect, to Michael Jackson or his legacy, or, that bastard Joe Jackson, man, I could care less about him, man. Because, alright, if you want to know, because he abused those kids in the business. He didn't teach them, he abused them. So, honestly, man, I could care less about him. But, aside from that, okay, it's going to tie in with this topic. Because, if you try to exploit your children for money, you're no better than the damn bouncers at a club. You're just hustling people. And then, to make matters even worse, if you do that towards your own children and they have revolutionary minds, something that you can't comprehend with, guess what? They'll look at you and say, what's the point of dealing with this trash right here? They're not helping us. In fact, they are hindering us. So the way I see it, what's the point? There's no point. I'm not going to listen to you and you're not going to listen to me. So fine. It's whatever it is. But on the other hand, if you discipline your children right, you teach them right, you teach them how to be instead of how to act, teach them to question authority, teach them to question corruption, teach them to question. Because when you have the spirit of a child, matter of fact, when you have the heart of a child and the innocence of a child, you question things. You want to know how things work. You just don't say, just shut up and sit down and don't speak. After you told them like how many months or years for them to stand up and speak, you're going to tell them to shut up and sit down. It's funny because it's just like what Dick Gregory once said. Listen to that man. He's a great comedian. If you understand his type of humor, go watch him. He said this. He said, if you took time to teach your children how to stand up and speak, and then all of a sudden you try to tell them to sit down and shut up, then it's a reflection of you. Because the cops been telling you how to sit down and shut up instead of standing up and speaking out. And then now, when I heard that, I thought back. I'm just like, yo, wait a minute, this is actually fucking true. Because if you really think about it, like, seriously, just think about it. Because family, it is important. Discipline is very important. And love is very important. And you want to know what the sad part is? Like, everybody's been taught how to spite each other nowadays. Everybody's been taught how to look down upon each other nowadays. Like, we lack patience. That's the sad thing. Parents are being fucking punks. Matter of fact, they don't even deserve to be called punks. They deserve to be called cowards or even pussies. Because, truth be told, parents nowadays, they're not going to sit down and try to talk with their children, try to say, hey, look, it's not that I don't love you. I just don't want you to go down this pathway, because you want to know what's going to happen, right? If you're going to know, then that means you will willingly not go there. Because The only thing that will await you is death. Instead of just like, sitting them down, talking to them, like straight up just telling them. Instead, you know what they do? They just blur things up and try to say like, oh yes, all this other crap. Yes, babies come from the heavens. Babies come from here. And and if kids ask like what's AIDS, HIV, how do babies really come out and all that other crap, what's all these other sexual positions and all that other crap, basically asking questions. Well, not at age 10, like let them wait until like they're 13 or 15 years old to ask like sexual questions. But if they're curious because they're just like, wait a minute, I heard about this in school, so what is it exactly? And if they ask that question, just tell them straight up, like, look, all right, let's sit down, let me speak to you and tell you what I know of it. From what I know, you can look like, okay, but you're going to have to wait until you're older to understand. See, that's the thing. Parents don't want to understand their children, hence why their children don't understand their parents. Basically, with a lack of understanding, static right there, there's no discipline, man. How can you understand somebody if there is no discipline or no love? That's sad, because if you really think about it, without love or discipline, how can there be a family? And if you love somebody, that means you are willing to steer them away from danger until they are ready to face it, which I can understand. But when it comes right down to it, and when it comes right down to it, it's not that this generation is being raised by fucking cowards. Matter of fact, it's not that this generation is going to be cowards. It's just that we've been taught by cowards. We've been taught how to just stay down and shut up, especially in the face of oppression. That's not how family goes. See, look, if your family's teaching you how to be a coward, then let me tell you this, they're not your family. Even though I can understand they're trying to protect you from certain things, but when it comes right down to protection, how can you protect your own family if you can't even protect yourself? And it's real sad, because I'm gonna keep it real with you, man. Because I'm just gonna keep it right, rugged, raw, and all that. If you don't teach your children how to wait, if you don't teach your children, matter of fact, if you don't teach them that there are dangers out there, without teaching them how to be fucking cowards, then how are we gonna survive as a people? As a matter of fact, if you teach hatred onto a child, if you teach bigotry, racism, segregation, separatists, ethnocentrism, teach them everything in the book that actually demeans society, or, not even demean, denotes, or just let society look at certain things as inferior and look at other things as superior. Guess what? That's not raising a kid. You're raising a goddamn statistic. And that's the problem. And that's the problem. That's another thing with family. Stop trying to raise statistics. Stop trying to raise them to be like, the next Michael Jordan. Stop raising them to be like the next basketball player. Because, in essence, let me put it like this. Because when it comes right down to basketball, only a select few will get into the NBA, let alone even be drafted. Only a select few would get into the NFL. Only a select few can get into, soccer, if they're into that. But not all of them. Stop trying to feed them that damn fantasy and teach them reality. And that's another thing about family that I'm really, a bit pissed off on. It's the fact that we teach, matter of fact, not even we, majority of us, we teach children not of reality, but to believe in a damn fantasy. Now, I remember my college professor once said, can anybody succeed? Yes, but can everybody succeed? No. Now, listen to what I just said. Can anybody succeed? Can anybody succeed? Yes, you can be anybody. I am anybody. But can everybody succeed? That's the changing word. anybody to everybody or everybody to anybody. They are not the same thing. And right there, can everybody succeed? No. Can everybody succeed? No. But can anybody succeed? Yes. And that's the reality of it. You have to teach the youth the truth, no matter how hard it is. See, I've been taught the truth. And it was a bitter pill to swallow. I hate it, but in the end it was necessary. Because had I not taken that pill, guess what? I would be still living in goddamn dreamland like Kirby. And look at me now. But still, it makes me wonder, like, wait a minute. If people are not being taught reality at like a young age, you get expectations. And now some of you may say, this sounds like it's going off on a tangent. How does this tie in with family? But listen, I mentioned before that when it comes right down to family, whether or not you're blood related or not, see, look, if you have like a very close bond or a very close connection to a person to the point that you can trust them unconditionally. You can trust them like a brother. You can trust them like an uncle. You can trust them like an aunt. You can trust them. That's the main thing. In family, there has to be trust. See, there are 5 things that are necessary in a family. Guess what they are? Trust, love, discipline, connection, and freedom. Yes, trust, love, discipline, connection, and freedom. Now, some of you may say, how does freedom tie in with family? Think about it. Because in family, you're free to express yourself. You're free to be you. But if you live in a rigorous society where they are like, you know what, man, let me be strict on your ass. Because, see, look, if you have like a very loose parent, guess what? Too much freedom is bad. Because, let's put it like this. Freedom without direction is the same as getting lost. But direction without freedom, it's just like being a slave. Now, tie that in, with families that are pretty loose. You're going to have very loose kids, or they might teach themselves and just be like, you know what, man, I'm not going down that route. It's a very select few children that have like, a willingness to just be like, you know what, man, I'm not going down that route. No. Then there are the strict parents who are overall, bogging down on the children. And yet, even though the children may turn out to be successful, but they lack something. They lack, intimacy. Not intimacy as in like, love and all. Not like, making love. Well, if you want me to be raw, fucking. Yeah, that, not like that kind of intimacy, but, sitting down, talking with your parent, talking to them, trying to get down to the nitty-gritty on like what the hell is going on. And they don't do that. Guess what? The kid is going to end up looking at you and just be like, you know what, man, this motherfucker don't even give a damn about me. He ain't cares about his damn self. Or she cares about her damn self. So fuck him. So then they end up having the mind of a damn slave. They become too dependent. And too much freedom, like I mentioned before, freedom without direction is the same as getting lost. But too much direction, without freedom is like being a slave. Now, in family, it's the same way. There has to be a balance. Because there has to be trust, there has to be love, there has to be connection, there has to be, basically trust, and then there has to be freedom. But without all of that, guess what? You're lost. Yeah, if there's no discipline in the family, guess what? The children are out of whack. If there's no freedom in the family, guess what? The children are going to be out of whack. If there's no love in the family, the children are going to be out of whack. If there is no, basically, if the 5 points are there and they are not there, guess what? There is no family. It's just disorder with blood. And with blood, there might come bloodshed. But, when it comes right down to it, family is beautiful, but it can be it's very complex because without it, some things will not be the same. But it's not. See, blood doesn't make family. Trust does. Time does. Like I mentioned before, the 5 points: freedom, discipline, love, connection, trust. That makes family. But if those points are not there, how can it be considered a family? You're just a bunch of disorganized motherfuckers that are just sitting on the damn table doing nothing. And then you know what the sad part is? It's the fact that many of today's families are like that. And yet they want to know why the kids are out of line. The kids are not out of line. The kids are just a mere reflection on the household that they grew up in, or the people they hang around with, or the family that they were born in. It's just too bad that, family, in essence, has become such a downer to the point that, there are just too many weeds in the garden that's called family. And some of those weeds need to be taken out. And that sounds pretty grim, but, I'm just going to keep it real. And if you feel as if you are a weed, then you can just remove yourself and try to say, what in my coding or what in my DNA, not even my DNA, what inside of myself that I can change, not forcibly, but willingly, so it could benefit my family. Now, if you do that, guess what? You'll help yourself. And not only that, you'll help your family. But it's funny because sometimes family members don't even want to help themselves because they're so busy being content on the Discord that when there is order, they think they're being told what to do. And you want to know what the real sad part is? If somebody loves you and realize that the road that you're heading down on is not a good road, they're not trying to tell you what to do. They're trying to warn you that no, don't go down that road. Sometimes discipline looks like hate, but if you understand where it's coming from, then you realize that they loved you in the end. They gave you freedom so you can understand what life is like. But if you don't understand it, you're lost. But in the end, I'm just going to keep it real with you. Family is beautiful, but it can be treacherous because there are traitors in families. There are people who believe this certain thing will benefit the family even though it clearly benefits themselves. But in the end, we all exist on this mud ball that we call Earth. Greer Bond said that. We are a part of a bigger family that not many people realize. And it's just sad that, many of us would rather kill each other than to sit down and try to talk with each other. Talk with each other, man. And killing each other out in the streets, killing each other because of skin color, killing each other over what? For fucking scraps. What? Because our egos are bruised, our prides have been challenged. We've forgotten about what does it mean just to sit down at the table of brotherhood. Remember what Dr. King said? Sitting down at the table of brotherhood. See, if you're going to sit down at the table of brotherhood, you're going to have to take everything that you had inside of you that infuriates you towards that person and just literally talk to him and say, this is what infuriates me about you. Because, X example, Y example, Z example, right to you. And then if both of you duke it out, and then eventually see like, man, we were two fools just trying to fight, trying to prove ourselves. And what did we prove? We're nothing more than just damn fools. And then you're laughing and having a drink. And just like Rick James with Charlie Murphy. You know, like he said, I love Charlie Murphy. And he said, you know, as much as we had it out with each other, you know, smacking each other across the face, kicking each other, punching each other, you know, throwing each other across the floor and all that other crap. You know what I have to say about all this? Cocaine's a hell of a drug. I must be losing my mind. And then afterwards, we're sitting down and having a drink and smiling. That's what we need to do. Like, seriously. Sure, we have our differences, man, but that's beautiful. That's a part of being human, and that's a part of being a family. You know, we're different. We have different lifestyles. Sure, some of us will disagree with it. Like, no lie. Some of us will disagree with certain type of lifestyles, and we will voice it. Whether it's very strong or is it just in a meek voice. But in the end, we all should love each other. We all should just sit down and talk. But, you know, when talking doesn't do anything, we're gonna have to duke it out. And if duking it out doesn't solve anything, then shit, we gotta stay separate. But staying separate, especially when you want communication and dialogue doesn't happen, then give dialogue a try. And with that, YouTube, matter of fact, I want to say one more thing about family. I love my family. I love them dearly. Whether they're surrogates, my friends, my actual blood relatives, and I love them. And with that, YouTube, family is love. Family is life. And if you say that you don't have a family with you, man, and you say your family doesn't understand you, remember, I'm here for you. And that's love for you, man. Family needs love. You know, I one. This is Broman Clash, signing out, man. Hope you have a great one. Later.